Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I have waited a full year to do this, and right now it's official. We are in the Christmas season. Merry Christmas, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a snowy Monday morning. Good morning. Oh, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, our great advertisers, along with Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them, get on the route service at 734-6969. Woo! Good morning, and right now let's say good morning to our Pledge of Allegiance. How you doing? Good morning.
I am doing rotten as usual.
My buddy, go ahead, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I'll tell you what, I always appreciate your call. Thank you, Dal, and your lovely wife. Have a great day today. Thank you so much.
You too, and enjoy the snow.
Okay, thank you. Guys on crutches don't enjoy snow, I'll tell you that. Hey, it's time for our weather forecast, and it's brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for that blue door. They've got all your carpet and flooring. They've got everything. And, by the way, they're having another girls' night out at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. That's going to be on December 9th, 6 p.m. to whenever. The cost is only $12, and they're going to be doing a lot of things for Christmas decor, so don't forget that. Get registered. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Yep, 678-6945. Here's Gina with the weather.
Well, we're going to have to suffer through some snow showers this morning, but by this afternoon should just be mostly cloudy skies and windy. We are in a winter weather advisory through 6 o'clock tonight. Wind steady out of the west, right around 30 miles an hour. High of 37 for today, tonight low of 24 tomorrow. Looks like partly cloudy skies. Winds are going to be dying down to about 10 miles an hour. High of 36 with an overnight low of 23. Mostly cloudy and 40 for Wednesday, and then cloudy and about 33 for Thursday. Yesterday's high was 43. The overnight low was 34. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, Gina, thank you. She does a phenomenal job with that weather. We appreciate her. And don't forget, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for that blue door for whatever you need to make your house a home. Wonderful, wonderful people. By the way, we also want to say thank you to some of our many people that are wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Like Butte Irrigation, 116 South, 600 West of Paul, and another location at Red Cap Corner on Kimberly Road in Kimberly. Your Zomatic dealer, though, get you wet. You better believe it. You be sure and get a hold of them today, and they say thanks to all the farmers for a great harvest. Butte Irrigation. Alaska's Best. Oh, this is a great restaurant. 504 7th Street in Rupert, and the number to call, 436-2447. Great place to eat, voted the best fish available in the entire area. All the grilled trout, everything else, fresh salads daily. They're open, lunch Tuesday through Thursday, 11 to 3, dinner on Friday and Saturday evenings, 4 to 8. Don't forget Alaska's Best. And Magic Valley Irrigation at 44 East, 500 South of Burley, 678-3101. And they thank all the farmers for producing food for us to eat. And thank you from Jeff and the crew at Magic Valley Irrigation south of Burley. Wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. A couple of personal notes here this morning. Thanksgiving last week, one of the best ever. We celebrated, my family. Both Jake and Toby's families came over on Wednesday. Oh, my goodness sakes, did we enjoy a great dinner. Deanne went out of her way to make it one of the biggest and best we've ever had. Thank you so much. And then on Thursday, Thanksgiving, Kent and Kathy Benson and us, we went over to Jackpot, Nevada for a Thanksgiving brunch. Had a wonderful time, pigged out 2 days in a row. Wow, it was a great weekend. Thank you so much. And for all the people that called with well wishes and everything, thank you again for all your kindness. Appreciate it. Don't forget Daryl's Cleaners. My goodness sakes, they're at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Kevin and Cindy, and I've been taking my clothes in there for years and years. And they can fix up all those rumply crumplies, and you'll go in there, and there's your clothes, and you're going to go, holy buckets, those aren't my clothes. They look brand spanking new. Well, that's what will happen for you. Stop in today. Don't forget, if you prepay, you get 10% off on the bill. So Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, serving you. You know, there's caller, I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody, too, about SafeLink Internet, and they've really extended their hours and people for technical support for you. And you talk about fast, you talk about reliable, you talk about over 10,000 customers right now at SafeLink Internet. Number to call, 677-8000. Don't forget, you call them today and get on the program like we are. SafeLink Internet, 677-8000. Caller, good morning to you. How are you?
I am pretty good. Have you got your snowshoes on your crutches?
No, but I am a little wary and careful about going outside, and I do have some traction treads, and I'm going to fit those onto the bottom, and I'll guarantee you one thing. I don't particularly care for snow, ice, and all the slush, so I've got to be really careful out there.
Well, what you need to do is go to Les Schwab's and see if they can do something about your crutches.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I was thinking about maybe going over and getting some pieces of great big tread and kind of putting them on sideways, and some road grippers with some studs and everything. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, if we can get a little closer to the truth, I've got just a little over 3 inches at my house.
Wow.
And it's quite wet. And it's going to keep me busy for a while.
Well,
what I wanted to say today is I'm going to make a statement. And so this does not reflect on you or anyone else, but Donald Trump was letting Hillary off the hook. And now the two-faced witch has turned against him and is in favor of this recount and do all this other kind of stuff. I want him to once again prosecute her to the extent of the law.
I can't argue with that. I think I would be absolutely in favor of seeing a mass investigation and hopefully indictments. I think that it's ridiculous for the Green Party leader, Jill Stein, who absolutely was a never was, never will be candidate, and she's stirring up all this mess. And basically what she's doing for asking for donations for a recount, it's not for the goodness of what the vote vote might be or might not be. It's to garner funds for her Green Party, and let's call it like it is.
Now, let me tell you what I am thinking. I think she's a Democrat down and dirty, but if she can get all this money and store it up for a campaign, possibly she could run for president in 2020.
Yeah, well, I don't think that her policies and her platform are anything that the American public is going to absorb or try to force into the Oval Office. I just think she's a has-been wannabe that just wants to jump up and get her name in print and also hear it on the television set. I have no use for the Green Party and Jill Stein.
Well, she ought to pick a running mate like that Evan from from Utah.
Yeah.
I don't think what his last name
Yeah.
is. We'll just call him Turncoat.
Well, you got that, my friend, and I know we're drawing closer to when you're going to be heading south, so I treasure all the calls that you make on the morning program. Thank you very much. I got to run and do a commercial.
You are welcome.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much. Nice people right there. And I want to remind you some more nice people right now, and that's Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You see the snow, and that represents the cooler temperatures, colder temperatures. It also represents that when you jump out of bed in the morning, you want to make sure that when you hit that thermostat, your furnace is going to go, yes, sir, and send you the heat. Well, you better make sure that you've got efficiently great new furnace filters for your furnace. I'll tell you what, you want it to work well, you want it to work right. So be sure and stop in at Ramsey Heating and Electric today and check out all your furnace filters. And remember, they're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric, serving you. You know, we are just a matter of a couple of weeks away from the great big old-fashioned Christmas party at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, but I'm telling you, you can stop in anytime, all the time, at 611 North Overland in Burley or 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. They have got pancakes. Deanna was talking, who were you talking to last night about that anyway, with the pancake specials? They've got all kinds of delicious pancake specials over there. Pumpkin cream pancakes, red velvet pancake puppies, sticky bun pancake breakfast. Oh my! At America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. Great people, great menu. 611 Overland in Burley. You stop into Denny's Restaurant today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Merry Christmas.
And the same right back at you, Santa Claus.
Remember, Jesus is the reason for the season.
You had better believe that. You know, I am going to be doing quite a few stories about that over the next couple of weeks. And the absolute cowards that live amongst us that want to diminish Christmas and the real value of Christmas. Christmas naturally means Christ, Mass, the birth of Christ. And I'm not going to weaken on it. And if they want to petition me to get me off the air or whatever, Doug, let it happen.
I'll stand right beside you, buddy.
You know, the problem is that we cave to these people. We cave to their ideologies. We cave to their wishes. When really they ought to be like a bug bothering us at a summer picnic. Just kind of flick them away and tell them to go and stay put.
Yeah. And remember, when you've got one bee, nobody pays attention to you. But when you got a swarm of bees, then people will pay attention. So that's what we need to do. We need to get together, be a swarm of bees, and just let them have it.
I don't care if somebody in the audience doesn't like Christmas or doesn't like Christ as his birthday for Christmas. I don't care. That's their belief and that's their undoing. But don't try to overshadow me with my beliefs as the multitude of over 80% of Americans believe in Christ's birth as Christmas. And the other thing is, too, don't try to change it. Don't try to wreck it. Don't try to destroy it, because there again, the bug on the windshield theory. Just flick them away.
Exactly. But the reason I called was that Stein and this Recount.
Yeah.
I've done a little reading over the weekend, and a couple real smart people have written some articles about it. And they're doing is tying up electoral votes that if the recount isn't done, they can't vote for Trump. They can't vote for anybody. So which will put Trump at 260. Well, then it goes to the Congress, which picks the president, and then I think the Senate picks the vice president, which then they would say he was a illegitimate president. He didn't win properly. He didn't get enough electoral votes. And
Doug, I hope for the sanctity and safety of all Americans and our American lifestyle that it doesn't come to that. I am very worried because I was watching with great interest this morning. They were interviewing some of the Electoral College members, and one man in particular was talking about how many of them have received death threats, really ugly death threats from the liberal loons on the left. This is getting ridiculous.
Yep. Hey, I got a customer come in, so God bless and Merry Christmas.
Same to you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let me also remind you about our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental. Oh, my goodness sakes. They have all the equipment to get the job done right. And I'll tell you what, maybe you need something that's going to push the snow out of the way. Well, by golly, they can help you. At Berry Equipment and Rental, 3 locations, South Lincoln in Jerome and Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and the big one, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They do the best. They have all the equipment to get the job done right. And I want to remind you, too, that they've got used rental Bobcat equipment on sale right now. Listen to the deal. 0% interest for 48 months. Whoa! I mean, save money, get just what you're looking for at Berry Equipment and Rental, Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. It's true for equipment rentals and sales. Berry Equipment and Rental. Really good people. And quickly, while I'm waiting for some more phone calls, I want to remind you, too, about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Wow, what can I say except thank you for all they've done for me to get me back to being me. You know, all the exercises and the hydrotherapy pool, that really helped me. That treadmill in the bottom of that pool and all the exercises. Great, great staff of physical therapists that really, really care. Be sure and give them a call. Try to get an appointment as soon as you can at 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Really good folks. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Fidel Castro is dead. And as far as I'm concerned, that deserves an amen. I just absolutely have so many vile thoughts of that man over the many, many years that he was a dictator 90 miles off our shore in Cuba. And we're going to talk more about that in just a moment. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Maybe this recount is a good thing. We at least might find out how many illegal people have voted for Hillary Clinton and other officers in the Democratic Party.
I don't know. I think that this recount is not a good thing because it just prolongs the agony and the angst of the left crying like little wannabes that didn't get their way. It gives them more of a floor mat and more of a format, I should say, floor mat. It gives them more of a format and more of a stage to act up and be stupid in front of the American public because they're crybabies. I am not in favor of it.
I think they've only got until December the 38th, and then that thing's going to fall apart.
You know, something was said to me by one of my friends over the weekend, and I'm really concerned about the Electoral College. I am concerned about the arm twisting and the verbal haranguing against members of the Electoral College. Somehow their addresses and telephone numbers, etc., were given out. A lot of them have received death threats. A lot of them are worried about what's going to happen and threats to change their vote. Tony, this isn't the America that I grew up in, I'll tell you that.
Well, from what I'm understanding, the drug cartels in South America are pushing thousands of people towards our border. They want to flood our country with people that can vote illegally.
Yep.
Take this country over.
Yep. Another movement on the way to turn us into more of what we have found repulsive over the many years. And I'm on your side. I'm worried. I'm concerned. I just want to see the inauguration take place. I want to see Trump take over in the Oval Office. I want to see his Trump team. I want to see they've got some excellent people already sitting in cabinet posts. I just want to see it get running, and turn this country around before we fall over a cliff.
You're absolutely right, Zeb, and keep your program going and keep people agitated.
I will do that. I like it. Thank you, Tony. God bless you, man. Thanks. All right. Hey, I was over the other day, and I got to tell you this, folks. I went over the other day to get my camper. I had to have some work done on it, my camper shell. And Anthony at Save on Shells, there is nobody better. Now, I'm just going to let the ad go like that for just a little dead air. There is nobody better than Anthony at Save on Shells, 1827 Overland and Burley. They've got the new ARE shells. They've got used shells and lids, quality, service, and low prices. I mean, I went over there and bing, bang, boom, this guy is so professional. He had that camper shell back on my pickup, all taken care of, bolted down. Everything looks great. Why would you go anywhere else? This man is good. Very personable, trustworthy, and great service. Save on Shells. Call Anthony today at 312-1525. Also want to remind you, too, about my good buddy Tim over at Streamline Precision. Oh, my goodness sakes. I tell you what, folks, now is the time. From December all the way through March, if you need steel buildings, oh, my goodness, they've got the best. They've got the new Core, the Prime, and the Sioux Cup. And the winter months are when they're out there working for you to be ready to go in the spring. Don't waste a minute. Right now, call them. Here's the number, 431-7314. I'll say it again, write it down, 431-7314. Call Tim Vaughn at Streamline Precision. This is the greatest time of the year right now to make sure that you get all your building needs taken care of. Streamline Precision, 431-7314. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm going to expend a little time this morning talking about Fidel Castro. And the man was a cruel dictator. The man was a murderer. The man personified everything that is evil. And yet, over the weekend, I sat watching television with the newscasts and the likes of Chris Matthews from MSNBC and Geraldo Rivera. I find Geraldo to be so despicable anyway. And even to the Pope, they were saying nice things about this absolute political monster, Fidel Castro. And then the worst came out again. Colin Kaepernick with the 49ers at a news press conference wearing a Malcolm X cap and a T-shirt giving all the personality pluses of Fidel Castro. I'm telling you, it is no wonder that the National Football League is in trouble when you have a deranged, sick, anti-American young man like this Colin Kaepernick, who I don't pull any punches. I despise this young man. And all he's doing is pouring gas on a fire. The NFL is in trouble. That's true. They're having ratings that are declining. They're having lack of attendance at games. They won't tell you this, but it's true. And a lot of this stems because of this young man, Colin Kaepernick, and his anti-American stand. What are your thoughts? Give me a call. I have to do a quick cookie giveaway and also this commercial, and I want to hear your opinion on this. I find this young man absolutely despicable. I want to thank everybody over at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. The lovely Christine Pickup. Oh, my goodness sakes, we're getting closer and closer to Christmas, and that means we just went through Thanksgiving. What a wonderful day that was. And now the Christmas holidays with all the parties, all the gatherings and everything. Well, make sure you can hear everything that's going on. Stop over. Ask for an appointment to have a hearing screening at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They're located right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room, and the number 312-0957. I'll say it again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. You give them a call today. Okay, now we're going to give away a bunch of cookies, a dozen cookies at Sophie's Chatterbox. And what a great restaurant, what a great bakery. Sophie, absolutely, their food is tremendous. And the cookies they make, oh my goodness, you're going to love them. And I suggest you give them a call, 436-0354, if you're the winner of the cookies, and tell them when you want them, and they'll have them ready for you. And Sophie's Chatterbox is located at 530 East Street in Rupert. Here's the question. It's such an easy one, and it's for first-time winners this morning only. What was the penny-pinching Scrooge's first name? What was Scrooge's first name? He was a penny pincher, I'll tell you what, and then had a great big transition. What was his first name? Call 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587, and you can win some delicious, a dozen Sophie's Chatterbox cookies. You give me a call right now. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hello, it's Ebenezer.
And who's calling?
This is Jeff Daly.
Jeff Daly, is that correct?
Yes.
Well, what's your favorite cookie, Jeff?
Oh, that sounds good.
No, I said, what is your favorite kind of cookie?
Jeez, I don't know.
Well, what are you going to... What's that?
A warm one?
Okay, a warm one. Okay, Jeff Daly, you're the winner. Call Sophie's, tell them you won the cookies, and you've got them, buddy. Thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sir. Jeff Daly, the winner of Sophie's Chatterbox cookies, and congratulations to him. Very well done. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to tell you, though, that the 49ers have lost 10 football games in a row. And I got to tell you that I'm glad that Kaepernick is back in there at quarterback. Why? This sounds really vindictive, but I have been waiting for a middle linebacker to literally give him a personality adjustment. And it happened yesterday in Miami. Here he is in Miami, where so many thousands, literally millions of Cuban refugees had risked their lives and risked everything they had to get to the United States away from Fidel Castro. And he's playing the Miami Dolphins, and a middle linebacker for the Dolphins that came from Cuban immigrants because they had to run away from the dictatorship and the cruel death of Fidel Castro came over to this country. Guess who stopped old Kaepernick on the 2-yard line? It was this linebacker for the Dolphins with a family heritage of running away from Fidel Castro's absolute murder and mayhem. And he hit him. I reveled in the hit. doubled him backwards at the 2-yard line, and the 49ers lost on that play. Now, you're probably saying, well, that's a shame, and it's absolutely sinful that you're wishing some harm and violence, bodily damage to Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, I am. This man needs to have a personality adjustment. You just think about this. If Kaepernick were born in Cuba, would he have had the opportunity for $15 million a year contract? Would he have had the opportunity to take a knee or sit on the bench at any of the Cuban games perhaps played where their national anthem was played? No, they'd have taken him out, put him in jail, beat him, and possibly shot him. This young man is so skewed in his thinking. And unfortunately, young people are looking up to him. High schoolers, even grade schoolers, college, etc. And I find it pathetic. Your thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say about this. I am so glad that at least half of the Castro brothers are gone. Your thoughts, give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, I know, I'll take some criticism from the left, but that's all right. Minute Cash of Sales. Don't forget our dear friend Zach and the rest of the crew over there. Boy, with this snow on the ground, a lot of people are saying, "Ooh, I wish I'd have paid attention and got those Western windows put in." Well, listen, still time. Go do it. They can find contractors to do the installation, and those Western windows will really keep the cold air outside. Boy, I'll tell you, a lot of time to get interior work done. Maybe you've got the family coming home for Christmas or whatever. You stop by Minute Cash of Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. They sponsor Dr. History on Tuesdays at 10:06. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Big things happened at Hampshire College in Massachusetts. Remember that story? I'll get back to that in just a few minutes. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Did we expect any different from the reactions from the liberals in our country? And Kaepernick, I think that people have not been paying attention to him, so he had to come out and do something more drastic again. I think he's a worthless piece of skin. As far as I'm concerned, after we never see him on the football field again, we won't be any less rich.
No, and the problem is, Chris, it goes deeper than just Kaepernick. It's what he opened up as a chasm of other lowlifes and despicables to follow him in an anti-American campaign and tirade. You know, no matter where you go in the world, Chris, I want you to put your thinking cap on for a minute and tell me one other country where you can act so despicably against that country, against that government, against its heritage, and have a $15 million a year contract playing football.
Oh, no place. No place. And almost every other country would jerk his chain and take away his little spending money and put it in their national treasure.
Yeah.
So he is, I think that he thought he would get a lot of benefit from doing his first little take of the knee. And everybody ignored him, and I don't think that a whole lot happened. And so now he's got to get the attention again, because they're obviously not playing him, are they?
Oh, no, he's starting at quarterback for the 49ers right now, but when he ran out on the field yesterday on Sunday, as they were playing the Miami Dolphins, believe me, I have never heard such a thunderous round of boos as, of course, the people in Miami hated him. And when he was stopped on the 2-yard line on the last play of the game that could have given the 49ers victory, and I mean the Miami Dolphin linebacker just flattened him, the crowd erupted, and it was just absolutely like a party.
Hey, do you know what? He is getting justice. Right now, the fans are trying him, and handing down the verdict. The kid is not going to survive the rest of the year, I don't think, because any place he plays, unless it's San Francisco, the fans are going to give him the third finger.
Well, I really hope that at the ownership meeting that they usually hold in March for all the NFL owners, I hope at that meeting that the owners take on a very tough and decisive tactic of not allowing this kind of garbage to happen anymore. It's kind of like working for a ranch or a farm or whatever. When you work for a farm or a ranch, you ride for the brand. You shut up, you do what the owner does and tells you, and you're getting a paycheck from those people, and you behave accordingly. I hope they take a tougher stand, and they say, our team will stand for the national anthem. If you don't want to stand for the national anthem, you stay in the locker room until after the anthem is over, and then you quietly come on the field. I don't want to see any more of this visibility that's turning away ticket buyers and this anti-American feeling. I think they've got to do that.
Right. And you know what? I think that some of these people are realizing, and this is the only way that they can make their point, that things are going to change in the United States. And the people have voted. And amazingly, he got picked. And the things in this country, I hope, will turn around.
I do too.
Leadership.
I do too.
The guy with the phone and a pen, he sure thinks he's cool, but I'm really glad to see him go.
I am hoping and praying for our country to do so much better, act so much better, and be so much better. And we have 52 days of Obama left, and I again will say it proudly. I hope the doorknob doesn't hit him in the posterior on the way out.
And what foreign country is he moving to?
I don't know, but I'll help provide the money for the ticket. I'll guarantee you that. Thank you very much, Chris. God bless. Thank you. Nice lady right there. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to tell you about Hampshire College. Remember them from last week? Where the cowardly, the milquetoast wussy president said, oh, well, we're going to take down the American flag because we just don't want all the turmoil. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. What a coward. What an absolute coward. I'm going to tell you what over 1,000 veterans did in just a moment. Don't forget Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street in Hayburn. Warm hearts for cold noses. I love that. They've been voted Minnecastia's best veterinary hospital multiple times, and I can see why. They've got great personalities. They really care for your pets and your livestock. Dr. Bill, Dr. Liz, the whole crew over there. Mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them all and can take care of them. Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Hayburn. Yep, warm hearts for cold noses. Absolutely. All right, your turn, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This deal at Hampshire College, it absolutely made me feel really, really good when I saw on television thousands of veterans, with thousands of United States flags. They rallied on Sunday afternoon yesterday against Hampshire College. And they rallied against the students because of the incidents on campus involving the American flag. Well, as the veterans waved thousands of flags, many said, this is what men and women have died for. And as they waved the flag, many veterans said, we have fought for this symbol. But here's the president of this college, an elitist college. Hampshire President Jonathan Lash ordered the United States flag removed for the time being, saying the flag, represents fear for some and is a positive symbol for others. But he said yesterday the decision to remove the flag was not about the presidential election. Here's what he said. This guy is such a piece of milk chocolate candy. He's nothing. I certainly regret that people see it as a political statement rather than an effort to discuss values. It's not intended as a statement about President-elect Donald Trump at all. But then, one of these wet-nosed millennial students by the name of Samantha Cetrullo said, a wide gulf exists between the veterans and the students. The veterans have given their all, many the ultimate sacrifice, for these students. And yes, I'm going to say these kids are not smart enough to understand the absolute giving of lives, blood, sweat, and tears for them. What a shame. And to the veterans that went there with thousands of American flags, lead on. Maybe, hopefully, God willing, some of these very dense-brained millennials and the president of this college will get the message. Let's get the weather forecast in here quickly, and it's sponsored by our friends with the Urgent Cares. Hello, Kyle, James, and the crew at Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland in Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin Falls, and Jerome Urgent Care at 133 West Avenue Way in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. Whether it's a laceration or a sinus infection, a fever, a cough, whatever, need an x-ray. My goodness, and they've even got all the flu shots there too. You better stop in today at all three of those urgent cares serving you. Right now, here's the weather.
Well, we're going to have to suffer through some snow showers this morning, but by this afternoon should just be mostly cloudy skies and windy. We are in a winter weather advisory through 6 o'clock tonight. Wind steady out of the west, right around 30 miles an hour. High of 37 for today, tonight low of 24 tomorrow. Looks like partly cloudy skies. Winds are going to be dying down to about 10 miles an hour. High of 36 with an overnight low of 23. Mostly cloudy and 40 for Wednesday, and then cloudy and about 33 for Thursday. Yesterday's high was 43. The overnight low was 34. That is your weather for Zebeth Rand.
Oh, she does a great job. Woo! Wintertime is here. Yeah, how much snow have we got outside? Probably about maybe an inch or two. Yeah, okay. Anyway, the Urgent Care is Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care, Twin Falls, Jerome Urgent Care in Jerome, minor emergencies, major care. You stop in and see these wonderful people today. All right, your calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I'd like to hear from you. You know, really, what's going on with this Dakota pipeline? The Sioux Indian tribes and others refusing to leave. Refusing to leave. There's the key word, refusing. No, we're not going to go. We're going to stay right here. And this is where I have my angst and my anger go to an all-time high. This is an all-time glaring example of the law being applied to who you are, and the government afraid that the Indian tribes will not be booted out because that wouldn't be PC, that wouldn't be politically correct. Oh no, the government will let them stay. The government will let them harass. The government will let them stop everything. The government will let them destroy. The government absolutely is not going to go against political correctness. They're not going to get these Indian tribes off that Dakota pipeline land. But wait a minute. What happened in Malheur County, Oregon? There were protesters there, but the government turned bloodthirsty. And unfortunately, people's lives were lost. The government said, get off of here. Now. They did not. Some went to another meeting, and some suffered the consequences in a hail of bullets. Why the ambiguity here? Now, the police and sheriff in North Dakota, Mandan, North Dakota, the sheriff is not apologizing for what he did a couple of days ago, and I don't think he should. He turned the water on the protesters and said, nope, you're not going to be here, you're going to leave here, and we've had enough. It's cost his county over $8 million. Well, now the Indians and the protesters, those many of which are coming from out of the area, are trying to sue because they said, they turned the cold water on us, and 17 of the protesters had to be taken to a hospital for hypothermia. Poor baby. If you were asked to leave and shouldn't have been there, and it's illegal what you're doing, and they turn on the water hoses and you suffer from hypothermia, it gets cold back in the Dakotas. I really couldn't care less. And the sheriff said, we're just not going to allow people to become unlawful. Amen to the sheriff. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Boy, I tell you what, it seems like some the law is applied to, and some the blindfold of the law is put on. Bedke Treasure Barn, located at 1558 Normal Avenue on the corner of 16th and Normal in Burley. Oh, my goodness. Man, they've got everything. They've got everything from pool tables to salon barber chairs to vintage chairs to all kinds of different furniture and tools and clothes, collectible toys. I mean, my goodness, what are you looking for? Great ideas for Christmas gift giving right there at Bedke Treasure Barn. You got to stop in and see Daryl and the crew. The store number is 878-2015, 878-2015. They're open Tuesdays through Saturday from 10 to 5. Stop in and enjoy yourself at Bedke Treasure Barn in Burley. Nice people. Got time for some more calls. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. And I think we had, and I think Deanne would agree with me, the absolute nicest Thanksgiving weekend that we could have ever had. It was wonderful. On Wednesday, like I said earlier this morning, we managed to have all the family here. Oh, it was great. Jake and her family, his family, Jake and his family, and then Toby and her family, they were all here. We just had a wonderful time. And again, kudos goes to my lovely wife, Deanne. The meal was fantastic. So again, I was blessed. We all had a chance to get together one day early on Wednesday for our Thanksgiving. It was wonderful. I want to remind you, too, a lot of you waited, didn't you? Yeah, a lot of you are looking outside at the window right now going, ooh, darn. I should have went into the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and checked out on those snow tires and those ice tires. And, oh, my goodness, there's time. Don't worry. I mean, if you're going someplace, just stop in. They can take care of you. They got all the different tires, all the different tread designs, everything for your traction, driving, safety this winter. Just stop in. Be cool. It's okay. And, of course, don't forget, too, that they've got all your tire chains. They've got all your batteries with these colder temperatures. Go in and have your battery checked. See if it's going to do the job for you for the winter. If not, bingo, they've got the batteries to help you with. The best in front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and, of course, brake service. The best. Now, there's 7 locations that are serving you at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. Yep, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Really good people, and I'm so thankful to have them. Don't forget, join us for an old-fashioned Christmas at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. It's going to be coming up on Thursday, December 15th from 8:06 in the morning to 11. My hours, I'm going to be over there broadcasting live. And we're going to have carolers, wonderful singers from Oakley High School, great food, a lot of prizes. It's Christmas the way it should be. An old-fashioned Christmas at Denny's, America's Diner on Thursday, December 15th. Please do not forget that. Come by. We would love to see you. Okay? Got you covered. Coming up for the rest of the day, at 9:06, we've got Steve Beeman, and he is going to be talking a little bit more about this recount, whether it's silliness or what's going to come out of it. And then at 9:30 this morning, we've got Ken Connolly, and I believe he's going to be talking about the ACLU, so stay tuned for that at 9:30. And then at 10:06 this morning, we're going to have sports psychologist on the air, Dr. Andrew Jacobs, and I'm going to be asking him about this Kaepernick thing in the NFL. And then at 10:30 this morning, Representative Fred Wood, and I'm looking forward to talking to Fred. So there you have it, all the things where we're going to dot the I's, cross the T's for the next couple of hours on Zeb at the Ranch. I thank you for all your support, and stay tuned. Zeb at the Ranch, we're going to send it back over to Wheels at our main studios for about 6-7 minutes. We will be right back. Oh, wow. The wind is blowing. It's not a very nice day outside. Please, I want to remind you, with snow conditions, I don't know what the roads are like around the Magic Valley, but I ask you, being that this is the first snowfall of the year, drive with extreme caution out there and get where you're going safely. I think it's right at freezing, 31, 32 degrees outside right now. So be careful out there. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They've got your traction tires and all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, I'll tell you what, the service is impeccable. When you're on that route service, you can almost set your watch by when the truck's going to be there to pick up your garbage. You can stand there on the back porch and wave goodbye to your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there forever. I'll tell you what, those folks are really good. Western Waste Services, call them. Get on the route service, 734-6969. Locally owned and operated, the best. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. By the way, too, don't forget Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. They bring you the weather at 8:06 when I sign on in the mornings, and I'll guarantee you they are good. Whatever you need to make your house a home, you stop in and see them today. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for that blue door. Really good folks. We're going to have our guest with us in just a moment, but I also want to say a very, very nice thank you to some people that are always there, always serving you, always serving the Magic Valley, and always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Who am I talking about? Hanson Mortuary. 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff, and they can travel to the rural towns and churches to help you and your family with all the arrangements when there's the passing of a loved one. Please write the number down, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the phone line. Wheels, do we have our guest ready, Mr. Steve Beeman?
Yes, sir, we do.
Well, thank you, Wheels. By the way, is it still snowing over there?
No, it's actually, we kind of got flurries, but it's calmed down quite a bit since this morning at about 7 o'clock.
All right.
At 7 was...
All right, drive with care out there, everybody. Steve Beeman, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, Zeb. Good morning to you and to all those wonderful folks out there in your area.
Now, Steve, where are you calling in from, by the way?
I happen to be in my office in Wheaton, Illinois, just outside the city of Chicago today.
All right, so that would tell me that you're probably finishing up with 2 weeks of celebration of my and your Chicago Cubs winning the World Series.
It certainly is a record-breaking issue. I mean, the city was just happy as could be. I think we had 5 million people join that celebration in downtown Chicago with nary a problem. So it was a good crowd, and they're all thankful the Cubbies finally brought it home.
Oh, man, I've been a Cub fan since I was an itty-bitty youngster, and congratulations. Steve, I got to ask you, it seems like the left, they absolutely are involved in all kinds of turmoil and tumultuous activities, and now being led by, of all people, loser Jill Stein with the Green Party. What's this with all the recount and everything else? Tell me what you think about all this mess.
Well, I think I go back to Hillary Clinton saying it was un-American to not support the results of an election. But with that said, we move forward. Jill Stein is this Green Party candidate who got maybe 2% of the vote, some terribly small number. I think she got 50,000 votes. It's barely a rounding error. But what happened is she, at the behest of the more liberal Democrats, went back into Wisconsin and said, let's have a recount. Nobody thinks it's going to change the results of the of the election outcome. Nobody thinks it's going to do much of anything. It's just a way to keep your name in the spotlight, I guess, and it's a pretty unhealthy way to do it at that.
But, yeah, let's kind of tear this apart a little bit, though, Steve. Maybe it's not going to do anything to change it, but there is also another thing I'm worried about. The longer we beleaguer this issue about recount or no recount, the more the liberal loons on the left are going to use this to tear apart the fragment of our great country, America. I'm really concerned about what they're going to do.
Well, I think you hit a thing. There is a big movement to do away with the Electoral College or undermine it more to a point. You know, as a constitutional issue, it's not going to be done away with, but there are states now looking to undermine it where they agree voluntarily to give up their electoral votes to the nation's most popular Democratic vote. That's really dangerous, and I think folks out in your area and around the country need to be aware of this. If that happens, politicians at the presidential level will go to New York, Houston, and Los Angeles, maybe stop by Chicago. That's about it. The rest of the country won't matter because on a Democratic, purely popular vote, only the big population centers matter.
Yeah, but Steve, how can they, and again, you'll have to pardon me if I'm way off base on this, but how can they even insinuate that they're going to force the people to go with their votes to a different direction? That all has to be a mandate from Congress and a revision of our Constitution, does it not?
Actually not. Most of these are done at the state level, and it's the states who tell their electors how to vote. So if the state of Indiana says, we agree that our electors will vote in line with the national popular vote, the state of Indiana is welcome to do that.
What would be in your mind, and we have a caller with a question, stand by caller, I'll be right there, but answer this first, Steve. What would be in your mind all the heck that will break loose if they stop the inauguration of Donald Trump?
Oh, my gosh, I don't even want to think it. I think you'd have the very conservative side of the right up in literal arms over that. The markets would have an enormous hit to them globally, if not just in the U.S., because the instability that would bring about would be frightening to investors.
All right, let's take this call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead with your question for Mr. Beeman.
Well, I just want to make a comment. The Green Party behind it, this is, the Green Party's been controlled by the communists since day one. It was back in 1966 when the elitists decided that, got together in Iron Mountain, New York, and how they could control the people on the planet. And they did come up with perpetual war and the environment because everybody's affected by the water and so forth. But we've had perpetual war, and then, of course, the EPA came online with an executive order in 1970. But now it's Agenda 21 through the UN. That's where it's been pushed. And we get this global warming hoax and all this stuff. So the Green Party has never been our friend. They're not. Patrick Moore, who was the co-founder of Greenpeace, he left the organization because he said it's
not about saving the environment. It's about controlling the people on the planet, which is part of the elitist agenda. So I'd like him to comment about that, but that's a little bit of history
All right.
I wanted to throw in there.
All right. I appreciate it, caller. And, Steve, if you would, please, your comments back to the caller.
Well, you betcha. I think by definition, the Green Party and those who believe in state control over and collective rights over individual rights are behind it. There is a very real philosophical difference in this world. Many of us believe the individual is the point at which power should be derived. There's a whole other side that thinks it's the collective. And I mean, this goes back to Homer and to Plato when he wrote the Republic. This is an old argument. I tend to fall on the side of individual liberty, but these people in the Green Party, the Communist Party, the Socialist Party, they fall into the realm of collective rights. And that is a battle that's always been there. The United States was the shining beacon of freedom because we were the only nation that really embraced individuality in our rights. But that began to change in the early 1900s with the Woodrow Wilsons and the Teddy Roosevelts, who believed that collectively we were better off than individually. I fundamentally disagree, but that's an intellectual battle that we will fight for the next 100 years.
You know, when you look at this thing with the Green Party and Jill Stein and her going out as a front runner to garner funds for this recount, let's face it, Steve, this isn't to make the party look good. It's not to make the Jill Steins look good. It's all about money and money coming in to create more power for the Green Party in the next election. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I totally agree. I think politics at its core is about money. And I think you've got people like, this Jill Stein raising money from the Democratic Party. They're happy as clams. They've got this, quote, nonprofit status. They all take big, fat salaries out of it, don't pay any tax on it. And they're happy as can be. It gives her media money. It gives her a voice to go to the millennial kids who aren't well educated in history and who have no perspective on what this really means when you do the collective thing. I mean, my God, we're glamorizing Fidel Castro. This is just not smart. But, she's going to get a bunch of money behind her, and, she'll spend it to persuade minds.
What about the media, Steve? Of course, now I am a member of the media, and so are you. But basically, I'm really developing a get-away-from-me attitude when it comes to the Chris Matthews and others of the media that are so bent on the left that they can't see the forest because one tree's standing in the way. They won't give an honest appraisal of what's going on in the news. How can we change this?
Well, there are a couple important points. First, this isn't conspiracy thinking. The New York Times came out and apologized for how it had treated Donald Trump during the campaign. I think what we saw this time around is a political event that neutralized the effect of the media. These people are up in arms because Trump's campaign or the transition team continues to go right to Twitter to take its message to the people. We are seeing a transition and transformation of media like never before because we have seen it. It's part and parcel entertainment now. Whether you listen to Fox News or you listen to MSNBC or CNN or any of the three major broadcast networks, there is an agenda to the news they promote. And so pure news has to be gotten in other ways. And I think these direct feeds from Twitter and Facebook and social media will replace the major networks over time.
Let me ask you this question, and this is kind of your own personal viewpoint, but, with all the criticisms of the electronic voting machines versus the voter going in rural areas like I did, and I literally took a black pen and marked on the ballot and then put the ballot in a tub as I walked out of the polling place, is there a better way that you can see that could be more synchronized across the nation for voting procedures?
Well, we clearly are in a technological age at which this voting thing is going to become more technical. Eventually, it's going to be done over the Internet. The issue will be how do you protect it from really egregious fraud? And I think that's the million-dollar question, Zeb, as we go forward. We're going to see it more technologically based. I don't know how you protect that from fraud. My personal opinion is I'd like to, as I did this year, like you, I went in and I marked a hard ballot. I had a choice of electronic or paper, and I chose paper. I tend to trust it more. There's a record of it. So I think everyone around the country in their own districts is going to have to be very focused on making sure they're involved in that election process and making sure they can monitor what's taking place so we don't get the kind of massive fraud that we could see in the next 50 years.
Okay, now we're going to be seeing December 1st come up on Thursday, and then, of course, later on in December, the Electoral College coming out with their finalization of their votes and everything. Honestly, Steve, do you see a lot of this tumult and tumultuous activities continuing, or will it finally lay down on the back porch like an old dog and go to sleep?
I think it's going to lay down on the back porch and go to sleep. But with that said, Zeb, I'm not naive to the fact that it, maybe won't do that. I guess I'd put a probability on it and say it's 80% sure it's going to just go away. But there is that 20% outlier that enough stink is going to be raised that it will put a question of legitimacy around this presidency, and that's going to split this country even further.
What about the millennials? I got to tell you, Steve, I've been very much opposed to not all. That would be ridiculous. There's a lot of great young people in our country. There's a lot of great young leadership in our country. But honestly, the millennials standing on the street corner, not working, not doing anything to be contributory towards our economy and also this nation's welfare, and they're not working. All they're doing is just kind of professional students on the lam, like what happened last week at that college in Massachusetts. What about the millennials? They're saying, hey, old timer, get out of the way. We're going to take this country over and we're going to run it our way. What are your fears?
Well, let me put that again in some perspective, I think. You've probably got 20% of the millennials who are traditional, conservatively minded, historically grounded, and educated people. We would tend to agree that they would at least, that there's a constitution. Many of them serve in the military, so we believe in them. The middle doesn't really care. They're out to just do their typical, I'm going to go to engineering school, I'm going to get my degree. It's that left, the 20% there that you see that is more hardcore left than ever before. They would support a communist agenda if it presented itself. And the problem with that is the very vocal 20% oftentimes can run the other 80%. We saw that, and I hate the example, but in Nazi Germany, where about 10% of the population were out Nazis. So a 20% millennial group with a big enough voice really could change the way this country operates.
Absolutely. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Short question, please.
When Iraq became, when they liberated Iraq or whatever they did to Iraq, and they voted for the first time, they made each one of them put their thumb on a ink pad, and that's the part of the way they voted. That would show that nobody could vote more than once.
Okay. All right. Yes, I remember that.
Why doesn't this country do that?
All right. I'll have Steve comment on that.
All this
I think we all agree that the one-man, one-vote rule should apply, and I don't like the idea of dead people voting, which in Illinois we're famous for that, of course. But to this nice lady's point, we do need voter ID laws. I think we need to be able to prove that an individual placing a vote is a citizen. That flies in the face of the progressives in California. They want illegals to vote. But it's we, the citizens, who have to stand up and fight this stuff. We're the ones who have to go to the ballot box, go to our friends' houses, walk the streets, and show people the danger of losing our democracy through fraud. And so I would hope to see voter ID laws put in, city by city, state by state, the elimination of the sanctuary cities and sanctuary campuses, of course, and get this idea that an illegally here person is equal to a legal citizen. I just think that's crazy.
Steve, you brought up an excellent point, as did the caller just a moment ago, a lovely lady that I've known for a long time. But when you think about it, the ID, I'm 69 years old, Steve, and I just don't understand what is so intrusive about asking someone for their ID when they go to vote and prove who they are. You have to provide an ID for so many other items, even to get on an airplane, cash a check, whatever. What is this garbage with the left, the Democrats, about taking away the ID?
Well, you and I both know it's a red herring. The fact is anyone in this country can get an identification card. The state IDs are red. You need it for everything you do. So it's a red herring. The issue, though, is that the left knows if we require voter ID, then dead people can't vote. And John Kennedy was put in office by dead people voting in Cook County. They know that'll happen, so there's a push to keep it in a fluid way so that the dead can vote, the people can vote more than once, illegal people can vote. That's clearly why they do it. But what gets me, Zeb, is that we, the people, don't stand up against it.
Yeah.
I don't understand how we are not a rising voice around this country to demand that Congress puts in voter ID laws. I don't get it.
I don't either. I want to just take one other subject with you this morning, Steve, if you will, and that's the appointments of the Trump administration. Now, I'm going to say this, and then you can rebut my statement if you don't agree. I have been very pleasantly surprised so far with the appointments of people to various cabinet positions. I think Trump is showing a strong leadership base. What are your thoughts?
I think he is actually coming out very strong here. I mean, Jeff Sessions is the Attorney General proposal, Mike Flynn is National Security, Mike Pompeo is CIA. Go down the list of Nikki Haley, Betsy DeVos, DeVos and Wilbur Ross. These people tend to be in line with a conservative, pro-America agenda. Betsy DeVos, for example, at education, is big on pro-choice in schools. So school choice will be clearly pushed as an agenda. I think it's going to be interesting to see. He's put out some signals of backing down on his promise to get rid of Obamacare. He's backing down a little bit on his environmental claims, it sounds like. We'll see what he actually does when he gets in office before we judge it, though.
All in all, you're optimistic that come mid-January, 52 days left of Obama, I still think that this man, Obama, is going to do something insidious with the stroke of a pen and his telephone. What are your thoughts?
Well, we know he's trying to throw through a slew of regulations to get them done. Now, many of these can be unwound. But, Zeb, I want to go back. When Trump won the election, I was asked often if I was elated about it, and I made the comment that, no, I was relieved. I know that Hillary Clinton was bad for the American economy, bad for the American entrepreneur, bad for our fiscal and monetary future. I don't know what Trump will do. I hope I do. I hope he cuts regulations, cuts taxes, and redoes our trade negotiations to be pro-American. I don't know that he'll do it. To your point, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm certainly not overboard in that optimism to say I trust it completely.
I have a lot of respect for this man. He's been on my program many times. Chairman of the Society to Advance Financial Education, a 30-year veteran of the financial industry, Steve Beeman. God bless you, man. Come back soon.
My very best to you, and Godspeed to you and all your listeners.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Steve Beeman. And he's going to become a regular on our show. He's very, very forthright, and I appreciate it. Merry Christmas wishes. Yes, we're going to send out some Christmas wishes right now from Streamline Precision. 120 South, 100 West of Burley. You can save on steel buildings with their expertise in manufacturing and contracting. They have everything you need under one roof. And believe me, they are experts in excavation too. Don't forget, they're wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Streamline Precision in Burley. Along with the Golden Valley Warehouse at 468 West, 1000 South of Burley. Oh my goodness, they want to thank all their customers for all of their business. It's been a real pleasure to serve all the folks, and they say to you, have a very Merry Christmas. Thank you, Golden Valley Warehouse, 468 West, 1000 South of Burley. Really, really nice people. Wishing you and yours a Merry, Merry Christmas. Okay, what else have we got cooking here real quick before we get our next guest on the line with the Alliance Defending Freedom? I want to also remind you about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Good folks, really good professional people. They know all about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, and they can help you. They will help you. They've helped us, believe me. So all you need to do is call them at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. The professionals serving you. And while we have just a quick moment, I also want to take the time to remind you about Let's Ride. Oh, I bet you they're grinning. Oh, are they grinning this morning? Old Nick sees that angel dandruff on the ground out there, and he's going, yeah, they're they're going to be coming in for all the snow machines. You better believe it. They've got all kinds of brand new snow machines in over there at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6, Saturdays 9 a.m. to 5. And, oh, by the way, they've got the timber sled system. It's a snow bike conversion kit that allows you to convert your bike from dirt to snow and back again. Timber sleds. Absolutely. I didn't know, and now I do. They've got it all for you where the fun is sold. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. You stop over and see them today. Oh, my goodness sakes. In just a moment, the Alliance Defending Freedom and one of their great attorneys at law. I want to remind you, too, that we're going to have an old-fashioned Christmas at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, on Thursday, December 15th. From 8:06 to 11, I'll be broadcasting over there live in the morning, and we're going to have carolers from Oakley High School. We're going to have great food, prizes. Oh, my goodness, Christmas the way it should be at Denny's Restaurant. America's Diner on December 15th. You be sure and come on by and say hello to us, okay? Let's go to the phone line right now, and with us from the Alliance Defending Freedom, and I understand he was kind of notified just recently that he was going to be on the show this morning, and that's Ken Connolly with ADF. Good morning, Ken. How are you today?
Good morning, Zeb. Good to be with you.
Well, where are you calling in from, Ken?
Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh, you lucky man. What's your weather down in Scottsdale right now?
It's a cold one this morning. It's mid-40s. It's only going to get up to 60 today, so we're going to suffer today.
Oh, gee, Ken, I feel so bad as I'm looking outside at 2 inches of snow and blowing and cold temperatures. I just can't tell you how sorry I feel for you.
I'm sure you guys are weeping tears for us here.
Ken, I have not had a chance to read the entirety of what's going on with the Alliance Defending Freedom, trying to work for a large Catholic health system. I'm going to let you tell the story, and then I'll interject with some questions. Go ahead, please.
Well, on October 25th of this year, just recently, the ACLU Foundation out of New York City and the ACLU of Michigan filed a complaint with the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Civil Rights. It's an administrative complaint that essentially seeks to compel Ascension Health and Genesis Health, which are two Catholic medical centers. Genesis is the subsidiary of Ascension. Ascension happens to be, I think it's the largest nonprofit health system in the United States and the world's largest Catholic healthcare system. The administrative complaint essentially says this. Mrs. Jessica Mann was a patient of a doctor who practiced at Genesis Regional Medical Center in Grand Blanc, Michigan. She had a pre-existing brain tumor, but she was pregnant at the time. She was scheduled for a cesarean section, and her doctor thought that it would be good for her to have a tubal ligation at the same time following the cesarean section. It's a common practice in many medical facilities, but Catholic facilities do not perform sterilization.
Mm-hmm.
The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, in their ethical directives, have said that it is not properly considered, essentially what they've said is it's not properly considered essentially health care to do a tubal ligation, or in more common terms, to have one's tubes tied. Now, this is no secret to people who go to Catholic hospitals, or at least it shouldn't be, and it's certainly not hidden from them. The hospital informed Mrs. Mann that she would not be able to receive that service along with her cesarean section, and she was able to find that service elsewhere. Now, notwithstanding that, the ACLU decided to bring this administrative complaint, and what it essentially does is seeks to compel a Catholic healthcare system, which exists really to help the poor and to provide healthcare services to as many people as possible, and in many ways, people who can't afford it. That's the genesis of this system. It seeks to force them to act against the institutional conscience. And ADF, now we don't represent the hospital per se, but we sent a response letter to HHS, essentially pointing out to them what should be obvious in federal law. There are many federal statutes that protect precisely against these institutions being compelled to act against their conscience. And that's where ADF comes in. We sent that letter to the HHS to point out that this administrative complaint filed by the ACLU is completely meritless and should be dismissed.
You know, Ken, as I listen to this case, and please jump in and correct me if I'm way off base on this, but this is another movement by the left in our country to minimize the value of life. I remember a couple of weeks ago I had a gentleman on with the Alliance Defending Freedom, and we were talking about a case similar to where basically doctors are being forced to administer suicidal medicines to patients, and that goes completely against the Hippocratic Oath. All of these stories seem to fall into the same lockstep. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong at all there, Zeb. I mean, you're looking at what we could call an essential philosophical divide here. When it comes to abortion, when it comes to sterilization, when it comes to end-of-life issues, I won't call it euthanasia. Let's call it assisted suicide or help in suicide. That divide comes down this way. You could say there's the Hippocratic practitioners who went into medicine to help, to preserve life, to do everything they could to relieve and alleviate suffering within a certain code that did not involve doing harm to the patient. And then you have what I'll call sort of the public utility model of medicine. And I don't name that myself. An academic out of Wisconsin has essentially written in favor of a public utility model of medicine. And what that model essentially says is, listen, even though you've worked a large portion of your life to get this medical degree, and even though you came in with a moral and ethical stand to help and to do no harm, you've been granted a license by the state, and therefore you essentially have to perform or do whatever the patient or customer requests. And it's pretty easy to see, I think, Zeb, and you've put your finger on it, that there's not a lot of common ground between these two philosophical positions.
Right.
And what we'd like to say is, it's sort of like if we have business cases and we've heard about the businesses forced to print things or take pictures when they don't want to, and we've heard that, tolerance, we say that tolerance is a two-way street. Well, in the same way, conscience, if it's open to a perpetual veto, or if someone can say, well, listen, I know that's your religious belief, but that's not mine, now give me my abortion, well, then conscience really is meaningless. Because if that person, say there's a doctor who has no problem with abortion, but they are dead set against the death penalty, and they say, in no uncertain terms will I ever perform or be involved in the death penalty, I don't care what anybody says. If they can't see the value of protecting conscience in the abortion context, they have no right to claim when the prison van comes to come pick them up and say, we need your help in running the line for the prisoner, we need you to administer the fatal drug. They have no leg to stand on.
Yeah.
Conscience only means anything if we respect the belief of the medical practitioner and say, okay, I understand. We were not going to compel you to do this. You went into medicine to save, not to harm. I understand. We'll have to seek other avenues.
What I'm seeing is, and again, correct me, but a trend in this country to allow and let government make dictates that are absolutely not only against our Constitution, but also against our Christian-based country. And it scares me. It really scares me to think that government is going to have that much power to say and demand that everybody follow in lockstep with their edicts. That really bothers me.
Well, here's what this isn't so much a correction, I guess, as a sort of a reminder to your listeners. In actuality, and I see we can see a trend that way because we see a lot of these complaints being filed, and even though they're frivolous, what happens is, it puts practitioners in many ways back on their heels. They're forced to defend themselves, and the reminder I would put out is, ever since Roe v. Wade, and Doe v. Bolton, its companion case, were decided in 1973, which found that right to elective abortion, lurking in the penumbras of the Constitution, right? When that really wasn't there. There was no right there. Ever since then, those courts themselves upheld a right to conscience, clearly did so. And right after that, there was the whole flurry of federal laws and state laws protecting conscience. I mean, especially in the abortion and sterilization context. So even though we see this trend to sort of discard conscience and its value today, and it looks like the winds in some ways are blowing against it, we have to remind ourselves and use these statutes and keep. That's the reason that ADF sent this letter to HHS, is to say, hey, these are already on the books. We don't need, now there's a case to be made that these statutes can be strengthened. There are some what I'd call deficiencies. For instance, if you've heard of nurses who are often under the gun and forced to compelled to take part in an abortion the morning they come into work on call.
Right.
Even though they are protected seemingly by these federal statutes, those statutes lack what I'd call a private right of action, meaning they can't go into court and sue directly. They're beholden to the federal government's bureaucracy. In other words, the HHS department itself to enforce that right. And you put your finger on this just there with your question, Zeb, is that if the administration is not, behind conscience rights, good luck expecting them to enforce them on your behalf. Now, that's where we could see some improvements in the future, is that we could improve those laws by putting a private right of action in there, give that law some teeth. But notwithstanding the deficiencies, those laws are out there, and I think we can hope, at least in this new administration, that some of these tendencies towards what I call a lackadaisical or maybe even negative attitude towards enforcing conscience rights will do a 180 and turn around.
Let me ask you this, Ken, kind of a summation. Wouldn't you say that this is just another spoke in the wheel of the secular United States wanting to slap down anything regarding faith and Christianity in this country? You will adhere by what we say. You will not honor your church or its wishes. You will follow in lockstep with what we edict. Isn't that basically what it is?
And I'm not even sure, and I'm sure there are people, for instance, I think maybe you could say academics have a much more organized approach to this, right? What you're talking about there, like an actual attack on conscience. I think in many ways, though, more broadly speaking across the country, is that organized approach seeps into common. The common folks' understanding of it as this public utility model. In other words, it's sold to the public as more of a, listen, you have a right to what anything that's legal you have a right to as far as treatment goes. So I would agree with you in terms of it is part and parcel of a movement to sort of downplay our beliefs and our conscience, but it's sold as, well, this is just a patient's rights issue. If you don't want to do abortions, just don't do medicine. When we know, of course, that for thousands of years, Hippocratic practitioners wouldn't do abortions precisely because they went into medicine to save, not to kill.
And what about the? Go ahead. Excuse me. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. We had a delay.
Done. Thanks.
But Ken, what about this case as far as the final net result? You being the Alliance Defending Freedom, and also whether it's Catholics, whether it's Protestants, whether it's, I don't care what religious denomination, you can't lose this case because we can't be dictated to by the government to do what they say in regards to disavowing our beliefs.
Right, and certainly in this case, for instance, I mean, we had a similar case, the Trinity Health case, where the ACLU brought a similar case trying to compel Catholic hospitals to commit abortions. And that was thrown out by a federal court, saying that that the ACLU didn't have any standing. It was all speculative, their complaints, that women wouldn't be able to get health care. And it's similar to this case. This patient was able to seek that treatment she desired, that sterilization, at another hospital. There were no untoward effects from that. And the Catholic hospital did not have to act against its wishes and its conscience. So I think going forward, we're going to have to keep fighting for conscience and reminding the courts and the public that these laws are already on the books, and that it's every medical practitioner's right to practice medicine according to his or her conscience.
Well, I applaud you for your efforts, as I do every week, the Alliance Defending Freedom, and, of course, Ken Connolly on our program this morning. Ken, I wish you the very best, and please know that there is a tear in my right eye for you having to sustain the elements of 60-degree temperatures today in Arizona. God bless you, my friend. Thank you for being on the program.
Appreciate it. My pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. The Alliance Defending Freedom, I'm just blessed to have them on our program every Monday, and it seems like every week we learn more about how secular United States wants to take over, denounce, and put on the bottom of the bucket anything with Christianity, and I'll keep you informed as to how this story pans out. Right now, it's time for the weather. Boy, I'm right on time for a minute. Wheels, you should be proud of that. And right now it's time to think about tax planning. Oh, my goodness sakes, it's getting close to the end of the year, and especially the 1099s that need to be sent out in January. Don't forget about that. Your CPAs helping you, Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company. Curtis Pope, Todd Phillips, Rob Oaks, Mitch Goodwin, Lyden Crane. They've been providing accounting services to the Minicash area for well over 50 years. 2 locations, 1710 Overland and Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. The very best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning. Get a hold of them today. Don't put it off. Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company CPAs. Here's Gina with the weather.
Well, we're going to have to suffer through some snow showers this morning, but by this afternoon should just be mostly cloudy skies and windy. We are in a winter weather advisory through 6 o'clock tonight. Wind steady out of the west, right around 30 miles an hour. High of 37 for today, tonight low of 24 tomorrow. Looks like partly cloudy skies. Winds are going to be dying down to about 10 miles an hour. High of 36 with an overnight low of 23. Mostly cloudy and 40 for Wednesday, and then cloudy and about 33 for Thursday. Yesterday's high was 43. The overnight low was 34. That is your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
Great job, Gina. Thank you very much. Brought to everybody this hour by Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company. CPAs, Curtis Pope, Todd Phillips, Rob Oaks, Mitch Goodwin, and Lyden Crane. And again, the best of CPA services for you, your business, and your family. Oh, my. Calls are welcome. Come on. Really, I appreciate my audience so much. I've got the best listeners anywhere on any radio station in this country, and I appreciate your calls and your thoughts. I've got something that I've done a little research on and have found out just how insidious it would be for the Democrats to appoint Keith Ellison of Minnesota as their chairman for the Democratic National Committee. This guy, and yes, I want to say right up front, I am prejudiced against him because he's a Muslim. I am prejudiced against this man because he has been anti-American with his thoughts and some of his practices in the past. Let me explain why. He converted to Islam as an undergraduate at Wayne State University. As a third-year student at the University of Minnesota Law School in 1989 and 90, he wrote 2 columns for the Minnesota Daily under the name of Keith Hakeem. In the first, Ellison refers to Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he defends the Nation of Islam spokesman Khalid Abdul Muhammad, and speaks in the voice of a Nation of Islam advocate. In the second piece that he wrote, Hakeem demands reparations. Listen to this. Demands reparations for slavery. In other words, pay all the blacks in this country. And also throws in a demand for an optional separate homeland here in America for black families. This man, Representative Keith Ellison of Minnesota, is very close to taking over the Democratic National Committee as chairman. And he has attracted the support of Senators Bernie Sanders, oh brother, Elizabeth Warren, oh my, and of all, the most despicable Harry Reid. Many think that Ellison, an African-American Muslim, would make a powerful statement leading the Democratic National Committee. Ellison's past has gained attention, and he has been accused of anti-Semitism and ties to the Nation of Islam. But this calling for a separate state for the blacks in this country and remuneration to the blacks. And he has also called our Constitution the best evidence of a white racist conspiracy to subjugate other people. Is that what the Democrats are going to put in as a leader? My goodness. And the likes of Sanders and Warren and Harry Reid and many others supporting him? This is extremely worrisome. What are your thoughts? Give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. How, honestly, any Democrats in this area, how could you possibly, or any Democrats anywhere within the sound of my voice listening on the internet, zebbell.com, how could you possibly underwrite that man as a potential leader and chairman of your party? How? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's not forget to Streamline Precision with my buddy Tim Vaughn. Hello, Tim, and I'll tell you he's got that phone right there in his pocket, and he's waiting for your call at 431-7314. Yes, Streamline Precision with the very best of pre-engineered steel buildings, Nucor, Prime, Sukup, and the winter months are what they're just waiting for. They're at the starting gate right now, ready to rush out to your property and get the job done and built for you. Give them a call. And Dairyman, don't forget, if you need feed lanes and mangers, they specialize in demolition and replacement of concrete feed lanes. They got it all for you, and they can do it all for you. And now is the time to call and have everything ready to go in the spring. 431-7314. Streamline Precision and Tim Vaughn. You call them today. All right, now call me, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. It's just absolutely mind-boggling to me that a party, the Democrats, have changed and gone that severely to the left that they would even think about having someone like Representative Keith Ellison from Minnesota, a Muslim, and an absolute advocate, as he has been in the past, of the Nation of Islam, and Minister Louis Farrakhan, and in the past has demanded reparations for slavery, which means look out, boys, open up your pocketbooks, and demand for an optional separate homeland for American blacks. Where? How? How's it going to be funded? Good heavens. A destruction of the United States of America. And the Democrats are advocating that this man take over the leadership power position of chairman. Surely you must have some thoughts on this. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Quickly, give me a call. I want to remind you again that, yes, we're going to be over at Denny's Restaurant on the 15th of December, coming up in a couple of weeks, old-fashioned Christmas. We had a ball over there last year. Man, it was so much fun. Everybody was all dressed up for Christmas, and we had the waitresses were dressed up as little elves, and we had the tree, and we had the lights, and we had singers, and we had prizes. Well, the same thing happening again this year. Coming up at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, and it's going to be on December 15th. We're going to be broadcasting live and direct over there, so we urge you to come on down and join in all the fun with us on December 15th at Denny's Restaurant in Burley, an old-fashioned American Christmas. Going to be a lot of fun. All right, come on, quickly, calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I've got this note that I know Sharon Crow, the administrator of the, where is this going to be? The American Falls Community Choir, directed by Dan Bowman and accompanied by David Bowman, will be presenting their annual concert at the Rupert United Methodist Church, 605 8th Street, on Monday, December 12th at 7:30 p.m. Now, this is a community event. Please bring your family and friends, and light refreshments will be served, and a love offering will be accepted. For more information, call the church at 436-3354. That's going to be on December the 12th, Monday night, December 12th at 7:30 p.m. A great American Falls Community Choir, directed by Dan Bowman. It should be really a lot of fun to get you in the Christmas spirit. I got to wave the bell here. There we go. I got a series of bells. Oh, yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody. Wheels, are you going to do your Christmas shopping early, or do you wait until December the 24th?
Well, my parents already did their early shopping, but I actually plan on doing mine the 24th, so that way I can get everything I need to for each of my family members.
You're like I am, man. I wait till the very last minute, and then I go hit the stores. And by the way, while we got just a moment, I want to acknowledge some of the great businesses and people that are extending Merry Christmas and Santa wishes to you and your family. And they include my dear friend Joe Taylor at 425 Overland in Burley. Joe, one of the best real estate men around. I just absolutely marvel at this gentleman with his expertise and his knowledge. He's moved over to River Bridge Realty, and he wants you all to know that. One call does it all, and he's wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Thank you, Joe Taylor. And Clark's for Shopping. These are really nice people at 100 East Main in Oakley, 862-3364. They've got great ideas for Christmas breakfast. Their famous sausage from Grandma's recipe, buy either bulk patties or links. It is absolutely phenomenal. You got to try it. Clark's for Shopping in Oakley. And they wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Right now, we're going to send this back over to our main studios in the capable hands of my dear friend Wheels. We're going to have the CBS News come on, and then we're going to be back next hour with sports psychologist Dr. Andrew Jacobs and also Representative Fred Wood. A lot of things coming up. Stay tuned. Zeb at the Ranch.
Think everything's owed to them. It's become a problem for a lot of people.
Let me ask you one final thought on this, Dr. Jacobs, and it reverts back to the World Series. Of course, my Chicago Cubs, for the first time in my lifetime, thank heavens I was able to see it, they won the World Series. But in that game, or group of games for the World Series, I saw something you don't see a lot in sports anymore, and that was really good sportsmanship between the two teams. I remember specifically Rizzo slid into second base at one game and took out the second baseman, and then after the play had been completed, both shook hands, helped each other up, and that was it. I was impressed with the sportsmanship.
Well, you know, in my book, Just Let Them Play, Guiding Parents, Coaches, and Athletes Through Youth Sports, we have a whole section on sportsmanship. And we have a whole emphasis in there on the importance of that and why sportsmanship needs to be the priority taught to people. And I thought, you know, the Cubs and Indians showed a great example of that in the World Series. And I think in a lot of professional sports today, you're seeing more of an emphasis on that, and that's being taught to be filtered down to younger levels. But there are still a lot of young, and this is why we wrote the book, because there's still a lot of young people today who coach sports, parents and young coaches who coach the sports because it's about them, not about the kids.
Absolutely.
It's all about the winning. I think if you teach people about the sports, you go out and play, bust your butt, play as hard as you can. But you know what? When the game's over with, shake your opponent's hand and move on, and be glad that you were able to compete and succeed as well as you did. Everyone, as we talk about in our book, only one person comes in first place but everybody can be a winner by their behavior and their attitudes and the way they conduct themselves. And I think the Cubs and Indians show that in the World Series this year.
The author of the book, Just Let 'Em Play, and I've got to ask you, sir, where can they get the book? Tell us, please.
Well, it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and it's also on my website, which is winnersunlimited.com. And, the online versions are at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, so people can check it out there. I know we've had a lot of positive feedback for it, and it's a great book for coaches, parents, and young athletes who want to play the game the right way.
You got to promise to come back. I've enjoyed the conversation. Dr. Andrew Jacobs, the author of Let 'Em Play, sports psychologist. Thank you very much, sir, and have a very Merry Christmas.
You too, sir. It's great being with you. I look forward to coming back again.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Very interesting, and I'm glad to have him on my program, Dr. Andrew Jacobs, and a book called Just Let 'Em Play. All right, now I got to tell you this real quick before I send it over to Wheels. You probably heard I had a small crash in here. My bookshelf to my left just caved in. But don't forget, on Thursday we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and I want to thank both of the sponsors for that segment. One, of course, A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Oh, my goodness, all the clothing, all the coats, all the warm clothing for the kids. And don't forget, they've got the Cherokee scrubs and the shoes. They've got all the family games, books, and puzzles. They've got everything for what you need for you and your family at A Child's World. 1308 Overland in Burley, and along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center for your outpatient surgeries, save you money. That's right. Call them today at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. The number 677-8888. I'll repeat it, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center, along with A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County on Thursdays at 10:10. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studios and come back in about 3 or 4 minutes with Representative Fred Wood. Don't you go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Let me tell you, folks, if you've got a lot of Christmas shopping to do, you don't want to leave all those gifts and everything else laying out in the back of your pickup truck or whatever, get a shell from Save on Shells. I was over there the other day. Anthony had done some repair work on my shell. Wonderful job, quality service, low prices. You will not find anybody that is more conscientious than Anthony at Save on Shells. 1827 Overland and Burley. The number to call, make sure he's there on the lot to serve you with all the different used shells, brand new shells from ARE. Call 312-1525. The very best, and service is impeccable. Anthony really takes care of you, so stop in today and check out a shell for your pickup truck. Save on Shells, 1827 Overland in Burley. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and hopefully I'll be one of the first that will wish him a snow-covered Monday. Merry Christmas. Good morning, Representative Fred Wood. How are you, sir?
Good, Zeb. How are you?
Well, it's the kind of a day when a fat man on crutches doesn't just run out the back porch and down the stairs. I got to be a little careful.
You are right. There is no snow on the ground here in Boise, but all you got to do is look about 1,000 feet up the foothills, and there's a pretty good amount of snow. At least, they're pretty white. We came over the Blues yesterday, and there's 4 or 5 inches of snow on the summit of the Blues there, and it's down about 3/4 of the way, so winter's coming.
Absolutely. I want to really applaud you for your diligence and always being so helpful on this program, Representative Fred Wood. And when I've had questions, you've always been there to help answer those questions. There was a headline in an editorial piece the other day in the Times News that said, quote, "Changes in politics don't erase Idaho's duty to those needing health care." Now, I'll say this, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Fred. Where is it for all the rest of us to have a duty to provide health care to the 78,000 without? I mean, it's almost like saying, you're the burden, we're going to pay for it, and that's where you have a bigger, more dependent society. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that what you're getting at is of course, we've got, everybody understands the roughly 80,000 people that at this point in time are having difficulty accessing health care, or at least some people believe that. Now, let's go back and look for a moment at Medicaid, because Medicaid covers three basic things by federal law. First of all, it covers all children, period, whether they're healthy, sick, disabled, or whatever. So that segment of the population is taken care of from birth to 18 years of age. Secondly, the pregnant women are covered, and thirdly, the disabled. Now, some people would argue that the federal description of disabled isn't broad enough, particularly in the world of mental health, and I would probably agree with the mental health aspect of it. But otherwise, all of those people who can't fend for themselves because of either physical disabilities, mental disabilities, or children which are not expected to fend for themselves, etc., are taken care of under the current system and currently are eligible by federal law for Medicaid. Basically, the 80,000 people in Idaho that we're talking about are the working poor or the people who are out of work at this point in time, etc. And you kind of hit the nail on the head, Zeb. That's exactly why the legislature and a lot of people in the state of Idaho have taken a look at this and said, well, you know, what is the real need here? And is there really a need here? And if so, then who should cover and who should we cover, who shouldn't we cover, and who should actually wind up being paying for that? So those are all legitimate questions that you're asking, and I don't have an answer. If you're looking for an answer this morning, I don't have one, Zeb.
Well, I know you don't, but
I think you're on the right track of questioning, you know, exactly what really should be happening here, and so far the legislature's not come up with an answer there.
You know, and Fred, let's be very fair and honest about this. You and I have talked privately on phone calls. Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. I mean, it's hit my own personal family with absolutely exorbitant cost increases, and yet the taxpayers are asked, and you know they're going to end up being asked to pay more for others. I mean, you reach a point where, my goodness, you just don't have enough milk in the refrigerator. I mean, it's empty. It's gone. What do people do?
Well, that's a real dilemma, and I think that's why you saw the results of the election that you saw. Everybody is asking, well, what is the answer? And the answer didn't come in the last 8 years, so maybe somebody else can figure out an answer. I'm not sure what the answer is, Zeb. Healthcare is very complicated. It's probably the most complicated issue facing the country, because there is no easy answer. I think there are some pretty tried and true things to how you bend the cost curve going forward so that the rate of increases aren't so high. But there's a whole lot of people out there who don't want that to happen either, particularly the people in the healthcare delivery system.
Yeah. Is it possible to take Obamacare, and is it possible, in your opinion, to rewrite it and bend it and twist it so that it would be a workable policy for this United States of America? Or is it something where you're just going to have to throw your hands up in the air and say, let's bring in, if possible, some nonpartisans that are really involved in health insurance, such as yourself and possibly Dr. Elena George out of Atlanta, Georgia, etc., and rewrite this thing so it can be constructed in fairness for the American people?
It can be only if you're willing to go back before 1986 and rewrite the 1986 COBRA legislation, COBRA standing for Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1986, which also had within that act a smaller act called the Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act, because the practical effect of that legislation was to declare health care a right in the United States, not a privilege, a right. And the Affordable Care Act is nothing more or less than the funding mechanism, which they didn't have the votes to pass in 1986. The Affordable Care Act of 2010 is nothing but the funding mechanism for the 1986 legislation. So, yes, Zeb, you and I could sit down at your kitchen table, and we could call a few people that listen to your program periodically or every day, and you and I could fix the whole damn thing by 5 o'clock tonight at your kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd have to be willing to go back, and you'd have to be able to change that legislation also with the Affordable Care Act legislation and make some wholesale changes in the healthcare delivery system, and yes, you could. But short of that, no.
Well, then, isn't it totally unfair by people in the state of Idaho to look at the legislative session coming up in January and basically hanging a millstone around all of your necks up there at the session, because this is a problem that I don't see how anybody in one session is going to get this thing fixed?
You're not gonna solve it in one session. First of all, I think the federal elections have thrown. We don't know what Congress is going to do now. Now, let's be realistic. There's 48 Democrat senators. There was a big article in Bloomberg News over the weekend that several Republican senators will not go along with removing the filibuster rule on anything, including court nominees or anything else. So as long as you've got the filibuster rule in effect, who knows what the federal government's going to do, and it's going to take them a year to get it figured out. I think they want to change the Affordable Care Act in some manner. How they're going to change it, I don't know, and the states and the state legislatures are going to be at the mercy of either the action or inaction of the federal government over the next year. So I had a meeting with the director of the Department of Health and Welfare this morning, and we talked about this very subject. And I told Director Armstrong, I said, don't count on a whole lot happening for the plain and simple reason that, a monkey wrench has been thrown in the machinery again. And, every 2 years when somebody comes along and disrupts the whole process, how do you know where you're going?
Yeah.
You don't, Zeb.
But, I can really feel for the legislators up there at the session, because this looks like it's a great big, kind of like having a dead cow put in your front yard. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to take care of it? And quite frankly, I don't see how in the world this issue, whether it's Medicaid or whether it's going to be the long-range effects of Obamacare, how that's going to be repaired. The sky does not look very optimistic right now for anything in healthcare across this country, does it?
I would agree that it doesn't. However, there are some things I think that the legislature could do that would increase access to primary care that is not going to involve the federal government or funds from the federal government or anything. And there's more than enough money in the current system to do that. For instance, we could take Millennium Fund money, averaging now $15 million a year. There is a good primary care network set up for the poor. additional funding for that would certainly increase significantly access for those people in the gap population to excellent medical care. It wouldn't cost anything to build infrastructure. It could all go for trustee and benefit payments, et cetera. That has nothing to do with the federal government. It has nothing to do with expanding Medicaid or anything. But that's something that the state of Idaho could do. It could manage its own. It's not going to cost the state taxpayer any money. That we could actually significantly help those people from, quite frankly, cigarette money that comes into the state on an annual basis.
Right.
So, it's stuff like that we can do, Zeb, and I think you will see the legislature work hard at trying to help in those types of manners. But I don't think you see any large-scale operation to try to increase Medicaid or anything, given the circumstances that the federal government finds itself in now.
Let me ask you a couple of quick questions. I've got about 4 or 5 minutes left here, Fred, but we're only about 50 days away from the legislative session. I mean, it's coming up really fast. What are some of the other issues that you as a state representative are really looking at as a concern for this legislative session coming up?
Well, orientation starts for the new people today. I'm part of that program. My time slot is tomorrow. Our organizational session is on Thursday and Friday. So by Friday afternoon, we will be organized to start the session on the 9th of January. This is what I'm hearing. There's going to be significant discussion around the complete build-out of the education, particularly the career ladder program for certified teachers, et cetera. So there's going to be some significant discussion about that. We've got some fairly significant stretches of roads and infrastructure of bridges, et cetera, in the state of Idaho that are really deteriorating more rapidly than people thought. There probably is going to wind up being some discussion about how we can increase revenues for transportation. We simply are falling behind by maintaining that infrastructure. At least that's kind of what I'm hearing. I think there's going to be significant discussion around some kind of a tax reduction proposal. I don't know how or where that's going to, or what that's going to look like, but I've heard that is going to come. I don't yet know. We've not seen what the governor is going to propose. I don't think you're going to see anything significant from the Department of Health and Welfare. I just had that discussion with Dick this morning. I think you're going to see some significant stuff come out of judiciary and rules with respect to justice reinvestment. There were some real issues with that. I think there's got to be some change to that program. There was some unintended consequences from the legislation passed last year. Not hearing much on the waterfront at this point in time. So that's what I'm hearing.
Okay. We have a caller with a question, and I'm down to the last 2 minutes in this segment. Caller, go ahead quickly, please. You're on the air.
Yeah, I think you've done a good job the last couple of years with the money for the education and stuff. But I just want to say this, that I don't think it matters how much money you throw at education or how much money you throw at this health and welfare deal. But it's never going to be enough for the left, and everybody's going to complain and holler because it's never enough no matter how much you throw at it. So I just think that you've done a good job in the past, and I think you need to hold your ground and go from there.
All right, caller. Thank you. Fred, respond, please.
Well, I think the caller is right, and that's why you're seeing inaction on some of these things that a lot of people would like to see action on. the legislature is not going to throw money at something just simply to throw money at it, just to make us feel good. And nobody wants that. And the last people on earth that want that are the listeners to your program that have to pay the taxes that fund these programs for the state of Idaho. If we can figure out somehow, and the caller's particularly right about education, throwing money at education doesn't educate children. There's multiple studies now that indicate that what kids learn is not dependent upon how much money you spend on it. So I think the legislature takes a careful look at that, and I hope that most people think that we've done a good job of holding the line. There are a couple of things that we do have to finish in education, but that program, that money for that program's already been programmed in. We're not talking new money there. We're talking money that was already programmed into that over the last 3 years.
Fred, real quick, a short answer on this, and it revolves around the national scene as far as politics is concerned. Your thoughts about this vote recount by Jill Stein and the Green Party. What are your thoughts on that quickly?
You know, it's a waste of money. I mean, come on. Votes, I mean, look at Idaho and look at the voting systems we've got. The votes aren't going to be out for more than 100 votes, or if even that. From my own perspective, I guess I'm too pragmatic to waste money on stuff that is not going to change anything from my perspective, Zeb. So, I mean, I haven't even followed it, but recounts very rarely ever change anything.
Absolutely. Representative Fred Wood, a dear friend of this program, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I'll have you back on before the session starts. Thank you, Fred. God bless, and Merry Christmas to you.
Same to you, Zeb, and same to all the listeners.
All right, sir.
Care. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Representative Fred Wood always has been so amenable to coming on this program and sharing with us all that's going on with the upcoming legislative session. I appreciate him. Thank you very much. Right now it's time for the weather. Oh, my goodness sakes, brought to you by our friends at Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Christmas is right around the corner, and they can help you out with some of their gift giving. Yeah, how about delicious smoked turkey for a gift or for a dinner, oven-ready, marinated prime rib? Oh, it is delicious. And did you know that Scarrows can put together gift boxes of different meats for Christmas? Oh my goodness, just call and tell them what you want and how much of whatever. All you have to do is call them at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657, Scarrows Meats. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, we're going to have to suffer through some snow showers this morning, but by this afternoon should just be mostly cloudy skies and windy. We are in a winter weather advisory through 6 o'clock tonight. Wind steady out of the west, right around 30 miles an hour. High of 37 for today, tonight low of 24 tomorrow. Looks like partly cloudy skies. Winds are going to be dying down to about 10 miles an hour. High of 36 with an overnight low of 23. Mostly cloudy and 40 for Wednesday, and then cloudy and about 33 for Thursday. Yesterday's high was 43. The overnight low was 34. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew. These are really nice people serving you with the best of meat. Call them today at 324-7657. Scarrows Meats, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. They are good. Okie doke, let's see, what else have I got? Tomorrow on the program, Frosty Woldridge. Going to be really interesting with Frosty. We're going to talk about this absolute stupidity of the vote recount. Dr. History is going to be here. And then we have a person by the name of Citizen Kelly coming on. And it's going to be really interesting talking about the left and how much of a bullying attitude the left has against us as Republicans and conservatives. We're going to look forward to that. Of course, Dr. History, as I mentioned, is going to be on at 10:06 tomorrow morning, pardon me, and always very interesting, leading us up to Christmas time. Don't forget, too, your friends and my friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, today's a good indicator as to maybe kind of giving you a little push, a little jab in the ribs to, hey, go take care of making sure you got your traction tires on for winter. Yeah, all the snow tires, all the different tread designs, all the ice tires, my goodness sakes, they've got it all for you at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in, check out all the tires, check out the best in brake service, and I mean that, the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. Now listen, they'll run a test on your old battery and see if it's going to make it through the winter. If not, they've got all the different batteries for all the different vehicles right there. You stop in and see them today. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. The best. Thank you for a very, very nice program today. All your calls, all your thoughts, and we'll be back here again tomorrow morning at 8:06. And we really appreciate your calls. One more reminder, join us for an old-fashioned Christmas at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, Thursday, December 15th. From 8:06 in the morning till 11, I'll be broadcasting live and direct from Denny's. We're going to have carolers around the restaurant from the Oakley High School. They do a wonderful job, and we're going to have great food, all kinds of fantastic prizes, so please put it on your calendar to be there. Christmas the way it should be, the old-fashioned Christmas at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner on December 15th, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. Once again, our thanks to KBAR 1230 AM, streaming live also on the internet all over the world on ZebBell.com. Thank you to all of our listeners. We've had so many kind people write us and email us and call us. We really appreciate it as we head on to the Christmas holidays, and the very best to you and your family. And again, thank you for all your well wishes for a great Thanksgiving. Boy, we had a wonderful time with my family coming down on last Wednesday. And then, of course, we went out to eat with friends on Thanksgiving Day. God bless each and every one of you. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06, we'll ride the horse for 3 hours till 11 o'clock. Zeb at the Ranch. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning.